Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm really excited to have my friends Josh and Austin here with us today. We're going to be talking about digital marketing. These guys are doing some cutting edge things. And as we go forward into the year ahead, there's some things you're going to want to know. Professional real estate investors know that it's not really about the real estate. In fact, real estate is just a vehicle to freedom. A group of over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors from across the country meet several times a year at the Investor Fuel Real Estate Mastermind to share ideas on how to strengthen each other's businesses, but also to come together as friends and build more fulfilling lives for all of those around us. On today's show, we're going to continue our conversation of fueling our businesses and fueling our lives. I'm glad you're here. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Mike. And
hey, sorry, you guys are like trying to not talk over each other. Like, can you hear me? So anyway, hey, glad you guys are here and excited to talk about digital marketing today. You guys are some young guns that came into the group that really are doing some amazing things, and excited to kind of watch your growth. And I'm excited that we're going to share it here today on the podcast.
Yeah, seriously, thanks for having us. We're excited to be on the show and to chat a little bit back and forth and talk about marketing and a little bit about what you're doing and what we're doing. So excited. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, before we kind of jump in, why don't you tell us a little bit about your backgrounds? Austin, why don't you go first, and then maybe Josh can follow on.
Yeah, so really my background, my dad was a pastor growing up, so he's and worked in ministry, so lived in the ministry life and went to Lancaster Bible College, actually have a degree in Bible. So anyways, was working at a ministry, and from the beginning, I kind of realized like, I'd like to do something with my money. I wanted to start investing it. So I started researching real estate. I read Millionaire Next Door and how many millionaires were built through real estate. So kind of picked that industry to find new ways to invest. And through that, met Josh, and he had house hacked. So he bought a triplex, lived in it, rented out the other one. And I was like, dude, I want to do that. So bought a triplex, then bought a duplex. Then Josh and I started the business. I didn't know what wholesaling was. I didn't know what flipping was, and just jumped in. So it's probably a 5,000 view of my life there, but that's how I got into the business.
Yeah, cool. And Josh, where'd you guys meet at?
Church. So we actually went to church. Austin's wife was like the children's ministry director at a church. I was in a small group at the time, which is a group, just a group of within the church. And they asked us like, would you take this like 21-year-old kid to be in your group? Because Austin, everybody else was older, right? We were all married and kind of older, and Austin shows up. And at first I thought in my mind, like, is it legal that his wife married him? He's so young, but he was there. We hit it off because I was kind of one of the younger guys, kind of doing some entrepreneurial stuff at the time. And it just, a friendship blossomed from there, and we went from there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk about today. And I know you guys have a lot of experience in the digital marketing realm. And, I run an agency that's more, well, we really are a tech company and a data company, but our solution is direct mail. So kind of, old school, if you will, but we've certainly put a new spin on it. So I'm excited to kind of compare notes here. But tell a little bit about what it is that you do from a digital marketing standpoint, and then we'll kind of dig into that a little bit more. And I want everybody that's listening today, we're actually going to share some tips and techniques today of things that you can do differently as we go forward into the new year. Because a lot of people say, I do SEO or I do some digital marketing, but you really need to learn how to become an expert at this going forward and not just do some cursory stuff. Because if you can't stand out, you're not going to stand out. And so let's kind of dive in a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what your approach is to digital marketing, and what are your kind of primary channels or methods, would you say?
Yeah, sure. I'll take that, Mike. So, and that's great. We had a agency background too. I come out of the agency world, right? So I had a pretty successful partnership in the agency world, and really for digital marketing, our approach is, it's another marketing channel for your business that you need to be able to measure, right? So like, what's the whole point of marketing, right? You're generating interest, you're generating leads, for your business. But at the end of the day, like if you're not making more sales, you're not driving more value for your business, like you're just running around like a chicken with your head cut off, right? So for us, the first step we always take, and we always advise people is, know your numbers in your business and understand how everything is converting, right? And so when we kind of come in and help other companies, or we help ourselves, we run the EOS system, but we also make sure that when we drive traffic to our website, digitally or via other forms of marketing, that everything is being tracked, right? Like everything needs to be tracked, so that when a customer, a seller does convert, they do end up signing a contract with us, we end up signing that or flipping that or whatever we do with it, there's some kind of value to that transaction, right? So my philosophy on digital marketing is a great tool that you can use, that it's very trackable, that can grow your business. Basically, at the end of the day, you put $1 into digital marketing. If you're able to track it, you should be able to make $1 plus X on the backside.
Right.
And I'll second this too, from a standpoint of the sales team, right? As leads come into your website through multiple channels of digital, I'm sure people have heard their salespeople say before, "Oh, all these leads are terrible," right? Like, "Oh, I don't want to call them. Everybody just yells at me." Well, if you're tracking your data with which lead source this lead came from, you can confidently tell your salespeople, "Hey, this is an SEO lead. We closed 1 in 6 of them," right? Like you're going to get, you're going to close 1 in 100 cold calls. You're going to close 1 in 15 Google ads, or however the numbers work out. You being able to track that data, it helps you communicate to your team as well. So that's something Josh and I are pretty heavy on, is being able to track and know our numbers when it comes to what lead source something came from, and then how do we talk to that person, right?
Yeah. And that's one of the great things about digital marketing, is it's easy to track the source, right? I mean, there's so many other methods that are a little bit hard to track as to where the lead came from. You could use different phone numbers, but more often than not, or it's fairly common that somebody will say, "Well, I saw you on TV," and it's like, "But I don't even run TV ads, so it must be the mail," or whatever. Like, I mean, all this marketing works together, but digital marketing is perhaps the easiest to track the source on.
Yeah, absolutely. It is by far. I mean, you get into what's called like last click attribution, right? Or like first click attribution. And I know, Mike, you do a lot of mail. So like mail is, a lot of times it's a first click interaction or first interaction that drives them to go to the website. And then let's say they fill a form out, or let's say they don't fill a form out. They go on Facebook, they see your Facebook ad, they come out, they come back, they fill a form, right? And then Facebook gets credit, right? Even though that mail piece was the first piece there.
Sure.
So you get a lot of like that last click attribution, which is really how like a lot of the marketing world works, right? You can have this blended attribution models, and people talk about that a lot of times. But when it comes down to it, as a business owner, if you can put $1 into a marketing channel, especially digitally, and I'm going to get $10 back or $6 back, whatever it is, whatever your number needs to be, you can then scale your business confidently, right? Because you're basically saying, "Hey, I know with my marketing efforts that I can grow, make a profit, and it's not a giant black hole for me."
Yeah. And I don't want to take us on a rabbit hole here, but I've been talking a lot about a language that you guys will speak as well, is ROAS, return on ad spend, right? And in the real estate space, a lot of people are slamming all their channels together, and if anything, they know their cost per lead and their cost per acquisition, but they're not breaking it down by channel. Not as many are as they should, right? And so what I know, and from our research and from our experience, is that the return on ad spend for an inbound lead, so it could be pay-per-click, could be SEO, could be direct mail, for example, compared to outbound texting, cold calling, things like that, is the return is typically 2 to 3x on an inbound lead than it is on outbound, because they took the time to research and or contact you versus you trying to convince them that they should sell their house, right? You guys see that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about like a ROAS per channel, like your organic traffic, your SEO traffic, I mean, in real estate world, you're going to be probably 10, 15x plus easily, even sometimes higher than that. So you're never going to be able to be like, if you're actually looking at your channels, some of your channels are going to be lower, but they're going to be broader, more awareness channels. And then some of them are going to be what you call like more lower in the funnel. People have higher intent. You're interrupting them, PPC or Facebook ads and things like that at a moment of need for them. So they're going to be a higher ROAS for you.
Right. Yeah. So for the investors that are out there that are listening to this, like sometimes people say my cost per lead is really cheap on a channel, but it's not your highest return on ad spend. It's not your most profitable, right? You might get a cheap lead, but if you're converting 1 out of 30 instead of 1 out of 5, it's like in that scenario there, it's your kind of cost per acquisition is 6x what it might be through an inbound channel. So you really have to look at, what do you spend on that channel and what's your return basically all the way through the profit on that deal. Because if you're just looking at cost per lead and cost per acquisition, you're missing out on, it doesn't tell the whole story at the end of the day, right? And it's not even the most important part of the story ultimately.
No, it's not. And I give you a good example of that. It's like a lot of people will talk about cost per lead. They'll throw in like cold calling, right? Like what qualifies a lead? Like somebody saying, hey, I'm interested in selling my house. Well, like we can get a lot of those for very cheap, right? But you might close 1 out of 100 of those on a cold call. And that might cost you $5 each, right? But you look at a PPC lead, you might be like, oh wow, PPC cost me $150 a lead, right? But you might close in 1 out of 3. So what's the better channel, right? PPC all day. You're spending way less time invested in that. It costs you less per deal, but you have to understand those numbers in order to get to that conclusion.
Yeah, for sure. And it throws a lot of investors off. I'll even at the last Investor Fuel event, for example, I won't say any names, but there was somebody, because we, as you guys know, we have people track their KPIs and get up and report them in front of the room as a way to hold people accountable. And one investor got up that happens to do a lot of cold calling and texting and shared their cost per lead. And it was like something that just looked super low. But again, what do you call a lead, right? And you do generate a lot more quantity of leads when you're texting and cold calling, but the quality is not necessarily as high. And then the next person got up and talked about their cost per lead and their cost per acquisition. And it was way, way higher. Cost per acquisition was like $8,000 a deal. And he's like, yeah, I probably need to pull back on direct mail because my acquisition cost is really high. Well, then he shared that he makes $80,000 on his average direct mail deal. We're like, you have a 10x return on your investment on direct mail. So it's $8,000 a buy, but it was in a Northeast market. It's like, who cares what the cost per lead is, or even the cost per acquisition? If you have a 10 times return on that investment, like, why would you ever pull back on that? Like, do more of that, right?
Yeah, do more of that, or just that's your benchmark for everything else. Like if you can generate an appointment and doing PPC and it costs you $77,999, do that too, right? Like same thing. So I think when you look at your marketing channels, you want to benchmark each one independent, like you said, Mike, and we usually do that on a yearly basis. I just did some of ours. And you want to look at it and say like, okay, this channel, is this a directly attributable channel, right? Like, can I say confidently that like, hey, I ran a PPC ad and then this turned into a deal? Or is it a channel where like TV or sometimes direct mail where, there's a lot of accessory activities that lead people to your site to then convert later on? Because, you do need some of those awareness channels in your marketing mix. I think if you just get so like conversion focused, you're not going to be able to get the scale to grow your business as much as other people. So you can be really honed in and have the best KPIs. Like we could come to the next investor fuel meeting and have like the best cost per lead, the best cost per acquisitions, the best spreads, and then be like, well, we only did 10 deals because, we only limited ourselves to like that, those numbers. Whereas, you're 2 feet from gold, right? You might be just spend a little bit more money, or if you open it up a little bit more, and you're going to unlock a lot more opportunities.
Right. Yep. Awesome. So Austin, why don't you tell us a little bit about like your experiences of organic versus paid? You guys do all those things, but tell us a little bit about your approach.
Well, to be honest, when it comes to a sales experience, because especially at the beginning, I was taking all the phone calls. So just super tangible for people out there who are taking the phone calls. Anytime that we had a Google SEO lead or a Google paid ad, I treated them as exactly the same, because they were still people who went on Google to find, I need to sell my house fast, right? So my experience with those are much better than whenever it was somebody who just kind of like, we have a hand raise system with cold callers, right? So if a cold caller calls somebody and they say they're interested in selling, they slip their hand up. So anyways, when my experience when it comes to those SEO to AdWords, we treat them kind of the same in the sales cycle. They're both people who have intent to sell. We actually just had one the other day. It was an SEO lead, and they said they wanted to sell. We went that day, we made an offer, and we closed in 6 days on the property. Those aren't normal, but they have intent to sell, so it's easy to do it when it comes to the marketing channels. So that's where we spend most of our money when it comes to ad spend, or putting it back into SEO strategies for link building, or content writing on our website.
Yeah. And talk a little bit about, like, there's some people that that typically they would outsource this. They're hiring somebody to help with SEO, and they pay $500 or $5,000 a month, some amount per month to help with SEO. And then, but they're not doing paid lead gen, or they do only paid lead gen, but they're really not focused on organic. So, maybe Josh, you can share why those are like a hand in a glove, why those things should go together.
Yeah, you should do that. And I think what a lot of people do, Mike, is they make the mistake of like, feel like, oh, my paid ads are just going to give me so much value. I don't need to do SEO, or I'm going to build up SEO, so paid's not going to matter. I think if you look at a search result, right, just type in "we buy houses" plus your city, you're going to see paid ads on that page. You're going to see it probably Google My Business local pack on that page, and then you're going to see organic listings, right? So to neglect, any of those three, honestly, because I kind of separate the Google My Business side a little bit different, local SEO. You're really shooting yourself in the foot, right? Because you can have a paid ad up there, but if there's 10 positions that are in view before you start scrolling down, you're only at one, you're really hurting yourself. So, we talk a lot about what's called SERP domination. We talk about this in other investors. Like when somebody types in "we buy" and then your city, you want to have as many spots on that page as possible. You want to have a PPC ad, you want to have the number one organic listing, you want to have your local pack, because the user, the seller, whoever that is, they're seeing you 3 times and everybody else like once. Who do you think they're going to start thinking to use, right? You're giving yourself a much better opportunity. And Mike, we know this as well. Like this is not like hey, buy a $20 product, right? Like these are a lot of money deals that you can be had if you get that opportunity, right? So for us, working together, organic and paid PPC, a lot of times, if we're starting out, if I was starting again or a new investor, I'd say start doing PPC day one, because it's like a faucet, you turn it on, right? And you start getting data back from Google, and Google starts learning itself about what keywords convert and what people's behaviors are in your city. Use that data, right? Because you can go into Google AdWords, you can look at your search term report, you can look at some other things that are, what keywords you're getting bid on, what are people searching, what are they clicking on. You can use that data to really inform your SEO, right? So like a lot of people ask, do I start with "we buy houses" or "sell my house fast"? Like that's a great question. Both are really valuable. You can see, like, in our market, and we know this, if people are typing in "sell your house" something parameters first, they're way less serious than "we buy houses," right? So we kind of gravitate towards "we buy houses" terms in our market, just because, like, "sell your house fast," I've spent a lot of PPC money on those things, and they do not convert at the level that "we buy houses" does. So we're running them together, working on them both together really is beneficial for you, because if you figure the PPC game out by month 3, 4, right? SEO takes 6 months, 9 months, a year. By the time you figure out your paid game, your SEO can kind of start kicking in, and then you got a two-headed beast going for you.
Yeah. And SEO, I mean, if you're just, probably a lot of folks listening to this are not just starting, but if you're just starting, like generally SEO takes time. It's like a long game, right? Where pay-per-click, you can turn it on right now and it'll work. And if you turn it off, it's going to stop working. And so while you're kind of building up that wall of SEO over time, you should be spending paid ads. And then of course, there's also the people that are like me. Like I tend to skip over paid ads and go to who's earned this space organically, because for me, and not everybody's like me, but for me, it's kind of a voice of who's earned this spot, not who's bought this spot. And I give a little more, it depends. It probably depends on what I'm searching for too. But I think that gives a little more credibility to me of like, who's kind of earned this spot, because, from my perspective, it's just a more legitimate business if it's in a complicated space that somebody took the effort to kind of earn that spot. Right.
Yeah, especially. And I think a lot of people, like I was talking about the local SEO, the map pack, like so many people neglect that. Even like when we're on this conversation, we track that separately for us, like the map pack, because you think about sellers, they want to work with people they know, they trust, and that are local most of the time. And so like that screams local to everybody. So if you're optimizing that, getting reviews in your map pack, building citations to it, really working on your local SEO, you can make a lot of money off that, because a lot of times that map pack is actually just right below the ads. So it's a little known secret. A lot of people like actually they kind of neglect their Google My Business. Investors are like, why would I do this? XYZ. But we've actually found, like, we can make 6 figures a year off that map pack very easily.
And we're actually in a market and a niche with people who need to sell their home. They're actually looking for people who are hyper local as well. So they do look at the map pack to see who is the closest to them. Because we've had deals where people came through that and they were in a high distress situation and they wanted somebody who was close to them. So they literally like went to the map, saw that we were central in Lancaster and came to us because of that. So it is very important that you're present on that map pack.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit more about just how folks, maybe a couple tips on how folks can really kind of build their brand in their local market. So obviously a lot of real estate investors we're talking to operate in, let's just simplify it and say one market. Obviously we know investors that operate in 10 markets or whatever, but let's just say if you wanted to really kind of dominate your local market with organic or paid, or we'll kind of jump into creating content in just a moment here. Like what are, kind of keep it high level, I guess, but what are a couple tips you would share for folks to, I guess, kind of get started or take it to the next level from wherever they're at?
Yeah, the basics the first thing you can do, I mean, just get a professional logo. I tell people this all the time because like so many people just go on Fiverr or other places and get like a $5 logo. We have ours professionally done. I can't tell you the number of people we put it on our gear, we do all this stuff. Like it just looks so much more professional out there, especially to sellers when you're presenting, yourself in front of them. So a professional logo that, if you're a home buyer, I know everyone puts like the house on their logo, but just make it look much, much better than your stock imagery, right?
Yeah.
The second thing you can do, your website, make your website unique, make it look different than everybody else. So many investors, they're like, hey, I have a Carrot website. And I went on and I hit publish on one of the themes, right? And then it looks exactly like everybody else's Carrot websites. So the easiest way to get started with that, Mike, is just literally type in, We Buy Houses Lancaster, go down through everyone who's doing the paid ads, go down to the top organic results, see what their websites look like, right? Do you trust them, right? Do they all look the same? They all look the same. You want to be the different. You want to be the ugly ducking, right? Like the person over here that's like totally different than everybody else. So that's kind of the, two little tips there. The third is like credibility. If you're branding yourself in a market, people buy, like I said, from they trust, they love, or they know. And really the credibility is huge. So if you're starting branding, put some, I know people like, oh, why do I need a BBB accreditation? Like that's huge. Like, why do I need reviews? Like all of those things go so far to telling the seller that you're credible, you're going to do what you say, and it's backed up by proof.
Yeah. And I want to just second that too, because I as he's talking, I always think of deals that have come through where people have said things to me that they've noticed on our website. And, we weren't shy about putting our faces on our website. I think there's a lot of people who go on Carrot and they just, create the website and they don't want themselves to be associated. They don't want
they use stock photos of somebody different.
Yeah. And it just doesn't feel genuine. So, we put our faces on there and talked about our business and talked about our life. And, I put in my bio that I'm a Christian, and I literally had a lady say, I looked at a bunch of websites. I saw that you were a Christian. So I went with you guys. So she literally said that to me while I was looking at her house, and we were able to do a nice wholesale on it. So you got to have that personal feel, especially for a local market. I mean, I think if you are in a local, hyper local, like Lancaster is probably a really good size, it's a big city, but not a big city, it's not, we're not talking Dallas, right? It matters to people that you're local and know how to talk their language.
Yeah. People want to work with people they trust, right? People that are in their market, they know their market, and there's probably some people that you guys repel too. They're like, these guys look too young. They don't have money. I mean, but at the end of the day, at the end of the day, you can't.
I'm working on my facial hair to stop that.
There you go. Yeah. But it's true, right? I mean, you shouldn't be so worried about repelling people that you don't put yourself out there as who you are, because at the end of the day, it's way easier to not have to pretend you're somebody else and just be yourself at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other tips on kind of messaging for the local market of how to really, you really kind of stand out from maybe your competitors?
I mean, one thing that we do on our website too that has helped is we don't just have a page for Lancaster. Specifically, we also have pages on our website about each local city around Lancaster as well. And we don't just copy and paste that. We have created content about those cities and used actual photos of those cities and tagged photos, tag the photos about that city, and talk about the uniqueness of the town over, Mount Joy from us. We have a page, Mount Joy, on our website, and we talk about Mount Joy. So as opposed to just like We Buy Houses Lancaster, we have sub pages on our website, and we didn't just, so kind of repeating what I just said, but don't copy and paste it. Talk about that local city, that hyper local city, and have a page about it. And then you can dominate your entire region.
And for each city, do you talk about like use cases as well? Like, for example, we help people that are dealing with death or divorce, or we help people, like, do you kind of have a grid of like cities and then like how you help people or issues you help people in? Do you go that deep?
Yeah, we go that deep. And then we actually write content, Mike. So this is like a really advanced kind of SEO things here. So you got your homepage, right? And then you have, either if you're a national wholesaler, you have your state levels, and then your city pages. And then your city pages, they'll each have content, reasons why, specific reasons why. So, top 5 reasons, why you should sell your house fast if you're going through a divorce in Mount Joy, PA, right? And, we're taking, the reasons really don't like change too much across different cities, but you're localizing it to that area. And Google loves that. So, if you check us out, like you'll see like we're ranking really well in Philly and Pittsburgh and all these areas of Pennsylvania, because we're really going into like that city, bringing relevance from that city. So linking out to local authorities, like government authorities, businesses in the area, XYZ, or just knowledge we have from being, growing up here or moving here. And then we're localizing the content enough so that somebody from that area read it, they'd be like, oh yeah, I know what you guys are talking about. Right. I'm related to this article, and I think I should use you guys.
Yeah, that's awesome. Could you share a couple tips of people? Because again, a lot of people say, well, they'll do it with direct mail too. They'll do it with SEO. People are like, oh, I tried it and it doesn't work. It's like, well, tell me what you did. and it's usually they tried some little thing that was like, pardon my French, half-assed, and it just wasn't a real attempt, right? So talk about maybe a couple of times you've seen people that tried something, but it clearly was going to fail. Like, what's the right and wrong way for folks that are listening right now that in their mind, they say, I tried it. But let's talk about the right way to try something and not, and maybe a little bit of organic, and a little bit of paid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can start by just saying, I think in any industry, not just real estate, it has to be consistent, right? Yeah. So like a lot of people who say I tried it and it didn't work, which used to be me, but Josh has helped me, you have to be consistent in what you do. So if you are going to do SEO, you can't just like pay somebody to do it one time for $2,000 and expect to see results. You have to
write one blog and you're out.
Yeah, exactly. Same with paid ads. You can't just throw a bunch of money into paid ads and expect to make a return right away. You might get lucky. You might be able to make some money on it, but if you are consistent in it, you will see a return on that money that you've invested because you spend enough time and you've gotten better at it over doing it consistently. So I would say consistency is key to that.
Yeah, I'll give you a tactical example. So Facebook ads, right? A lot of investors like have done Facebook ads or kind of do Facebook ads. There's some companies out there that done Facebook ads, right? And everybody's complaining about Facebook ads is they don't work or the leads aren't good or, all this, BS pretty much. And the reason is because of the way that you're doing your Facebook ads. So, a lot of times we do our Facebook ads, we film almost all our creative on an iPhone. We film our creative at localized places at a house that we're flipping or we bought or whatever. And we really make, whoever's watching that ad, we make sure they understand that not one, we're local, understand who we are, what we're doing or what we were doing with the property, right? And how they can contact us. Mm-hmm. And so you can see these all over the place. Now, what we do with that ad, Mike, is a lot of people, like a lot of investors, one, they won't get on camera. So that's like their first downfall. They just have an image graphic. And then two, they just like launch this ad and they think, oh, everyone's going to see this video and magically go fill my form out on my website, right? Because I'm now a guru. And that's totally wrong, right? So the purpose of the ad really is to drive engagement, right? So when we launch our ads, we actually put them on our page. We get a bunch of organic engagement on it, right? And then I actually run like that as an ad for engagement, right? So I just tell Facebook, hey, go out and get me engagement on this ad. I want people to comment on this. I want people to like this ad, right?
Yeah.
And what happens is, either good or bad comments. What happens is like that ad gets out there a little bit and it'll get 10, 15 comments, it'll get 50 likes. And then we'll take that ad and actually take that full ad with all the engagement on it and make it our actual conversion focused ad, right? So what everybody else does is like, they just making it creative and they stick it in there. There's no engagement on it, nothing. And it's just like, hey, we'll buy your house for cash, versus our ad, which is coming out, which has all these people saying either we're crazy or we're crooks, or, you know, we like you. And all this engagement, and we try to be funny on responses. And, you know, when people are scrolling to Facebook, they're like, you know, which one are you going to click on? The one with 0 or the one with all this engagement, right?
Right.
And so that's kind of the correct way to do it. And really, you need to run those ads, you know, for months to really build that engagement up and that steam up. And you need to be present in the comments, right? Like, you know, we try to be really funny back with a lot of our responses. I know Austin, sometimes probably get in trouble with Austin, but you know,
HR has to crack.
we have like, you know, we're snarky, you know, we're not just going to sit there and take it, you know, or hide the things. So people appreciate that though. And you have people defending us. So if you're a seller and you're seeing this and you're going like, oh, I've had some negative thoughts about home buyers, or maybe a cash offer, or whatever it is. Oh, wow, this company is actually like explaining the process well. They're actually like defending what they're doing well. Other people are saying they're credible. Like, it's already selling you before they get to your landing page.
Yeah. Versus just deleting the comments you don't like is using those as an opportunity to answer that question for other people that are thinking that too, right? Or clarify.
I have to say, Josh is the king of responding to people when it comes to negative comments and what to say back. So if you want to find it, go to our website or go to our Facebook and find our ads and see how Josh responds to people. So he's the king of it.
If you want to test me, you can do that as well.
Yeah. Give a negative comment, and Josh will give you a good comment back.
Yep. Well, guys, we could probably talk about this all day. This is good stuff. So would you guys mind? You've been in Investor Fuel for a little while now. And I've seen you guys progress quite a bit just in the time that we've known you guys, but would you mind just sharing a quick testimony on your experience so far as being a part of the group?
Yeah, sure. First of all, the first meeting we ever went to, it was great because, you know, we had to do the hot seats, get in front of everybody, share our KPIs, and our numbers were okay, like for just starting the business. But I remember there was a guy in there, Tim Harridge, if you're listening, you know Tim. He basically just like said to me, dude, you're making no money. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I feel like I'm making money. And he's like, no, like you aren't making any money on your deals. Go out there and ask for more money. And so anyways, that gave me like some confidence. I talked to him afterwards and gave me some advice through that. But through that, it gave me confidence to be around other people like myself, but to go out there and, you know, say, hey, here's our price on houses. I got better at comping. I got better at negotiating down on prices. And since we've joined Investor Fuel, our wholesale price has tripled. So, you know, just from these little tiny tips that people have given us. And actually, even since the beginning of joining Investor Fuel to now, because it's been a full year for us, we've actually doubled our business. So we literally just doubled our business on the last deal that we closed from the previous year. So, anyways, great. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, if you're out here listening, you know, and you're kind of on the fence about Investor Fuel, like I've been part of some masterminds in the past, and you know, you're like looking at a mastermind, you're like, hey, are they going to deliver on what they say? Like, absolutely, Investor Fuel does that. There's a huge community of people that care. I think that's the best part about it. Like for us, is that, you know, we have like not just like business associates, like we have friends now in the group. And I think like if you're struggling with something, everybody's super willing to share and just uplifting, you know, at the hot seats, you know, you're up there, you're vulnerable, and people are there to make you better. And I think that's just having like a servant heart throughout it all. It's great. So yeah, we love Investor Fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Yeah. I saw somebody post today, like, how do you define mastermind? And that word gets thrown around a lot. And I'm not here to tell people how you should define a mastermind, but I define it as like a peer-to-peer group where people are helping lift each other up, you know, be almost a board of advisors to each other. Right. And sometimes it gets thrown around as coaching. It's like, I don't view a coach teaching a large group of people, because I do coaching too. So I'm not knocking that, but I would never call that a mastermind, because you're not putting your heads together. It's one person kind of communicating how to do something. Right. And I think that's the power of the group, is just, you know, we have almost 200 members that are there that are sharing what works and what doesn't work. And like, I think I've heard people say it before, and I feel the same way. I've never seen a single person in Investor Fuel in 5 years. Like, I know they know something. I've never seen them hold back. Like, everybody's just like, look, I'll tell you exactly what I do. And part of it is because they've gotten so much from other members of the group that they feel this calling to give. Like, I need to just share back because I've gotten so much out of the group. And that's just this flywheel of people giving and sharing more and more every time they come, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that personally. I felt like last meeting, I wanted to share more because I've gotten so much. So
Yeah.
I personally felt that way.
Yeah. Awesome. You guys are amazing. I know you guys have shared some knowledge here today. I know you've shared it with a much deeper dive with a lot of Investor Fuel members. So, hey, if folks want to connect with you guys in any way, they're either in your market and might want to do deals with you, or just like connect for one reason or another, where's the best place for them to go?
So you can connect with us. 717homebuyers.com is our real estate business. You can find both of us on LinkedIn. If you look us up there, Josh Eberly and Austin Glanzer. And Austin is actually a TikTok star, so I'm gonna let him talk about that.
I'm not a star, but yes, I do have a TikTok and a YouTube channel, and my TikTok surprisingly has 80,000 followers, so it's decent. And anyways, if you want to follow me there, I think if you look up Austin Glanzer, it's that, but it's actually called Real Estate Hacks. So if you find it, Real Estate Hacks, and then I have a YouTube, Real Estate Jumpstart. So just giving tips to people who are kind of newbies in real estate, how to do it. And so have fun with that. So if you're looking for more subscribers, followers, so if you're out there.
We'll add links in the show notes down there. So the question is, Austin, do you guys get business from TikTok? Because I think a lot of people realize they get a lot of activity, maybe some vanity metrics that look pretty and everything. But would you say you guys get business from either buyers or sellers?
From what I do on it, no, because I'm giving more content. I have tried to like JV with people in the past, and I've had a lot of engagement with that. But then I ended up having to like pull the strings to get these deals going, and it was like just absolute crap stuff. So no, but I have gotten some really good connections from it with people. So like I've connected really well. I had a course for a little bit of a time where I was helping people and like had people sign up for that. So it's for me, it's more about like the connecting, building a network around it. Right now, I'll probably figure something else out to do with it, but it's not for motivated sellers.
And it's hard. And you guys know this in the digital marketing space. It's hard to quantify this, but like some of these things that you do, just like me doing a podcast, like I don't make money from the podcast, but first off, I get to spend time with you guys and a lot of awesome people, but just the credibility that it gives you. That I've had a podcast going for 9 years now under several different brands and done over 1,500 podcasts. And it's fairly common for me to run into somebody that's like, hey, I've been listening to you for 5 years. And, you know, it's just the credibility that gives you is really hard to measure, but it's a real thing, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, just because my TikTok has a lot of followers, I mean, that gets me in the door all the time. Conversations. It just gives me a little bit of credibility. Especially because it's harder to get followers now than it was 2 years ago. So anyways, I completely agree.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you being here.
All right. Yeah. Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah. And everybody, thanks for joining today. Hopefully you got some tips and tricks out of this. Make sure you connect with these guys. We'll add some links down below in the show notes. If you're listening on a podcast, go check us out on investorfuel.com and look up this show, and you'll see the links there. So appreciate everybody. Happy holidays. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Until then, we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Are you an active real estate investor? If so, and you want to latch on to the power of surrounding yourself with over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors, all committed to building stronger businesses and living richer, fuller lives, you should jump on a call with us to learn more about Investor Fuel. Simply visit investorfuel.com to get started.